Hey, welcome to session 3 of our Family Foundations series. I'm really excited to share this series with you because we're going to be addressing life from every angle and perspective, not just for those who are married and doing well financially, but in this session we want to talk about the single parent experience. And so we're going to be talking about balancing the empty checkbook, how single parents can survive financial challenges. You know, everyone is not married with a large family, with a large income and a 2, 3, or even 4 income household. There are many people who are single, whether they are single by divorce, single by death, or single by design. There are challenges that one income has that a 2-income household does not face as frequently. And so in this session, we want to talk about that. What are some of the challenges that are faced by those who only have one income as a single parent? Well, whether you have chosen by design to be single, or whether you've gone through a bad divorce, you thought you had the right person, but only to discover that that was not what God had for you, or whether you've gone through a loss through death and you are now a widow or widower, the one reality is that the bills still keep coming. There are still mouths to be fed. There's still enormous and escalating gas bills and water bills and just the cost of living that goes up every single year. And how do you cope with that from a single parent standpoint with one income? As a single parent, how can you deal with the financial crisis that you face from day to day? Well, as we identify with the story today, it's important to be mindful, particularly if you are married and have a 2-household income or more, that you have help and you have an assistant with another income coming in. But when you are single, the same needs arise in the family. For example, sending a daughter to prom is quite an expense. Dresses are going up higher and higher every single year. And then when you have a child that's about ready to learn how to drive, it's exciting on one hand, but your insurance, depending on whether you have a boy or girl in particular and what area you live in, might just be about to triple. And then there are times when the baby gets sick and we try all kinds of home remedies. The doctor prescribes an antibiotic, but the job is just cut back on hours and the resources are just not in place. And these are just a few of the realities of those who live life as a single parent. And the reality is that struggles confront all of us, but they are particularly even more menacing sometimes when you are a single parent with one income. The reality of paying all of the bills out of one income, and then sometimes child support or maintenance payments do not post or they are non-existent. If you are a widow or a widower, there is no additional income to be anticipated without some type of insurance benefits. But sometimes even that doesn't work out. And in the case where there has been a divorce that has left you single, sometimes the spouse who is now out of your life was the one who actually operated the finances, and you may not even be aware of bills that have been hidden that may surface at some point that you are left to deal with. So it is quite a difference in terms of the everyday experiences dealing with finances for those who are single as opposed to those who are married. The Apostle Paul was single, yet he found contentment. The church sowed seeds into the life of their leader, and that helped him to survive. There's an Old Testament story about a widow who sustained the prophet by giving him her last. And the prophet told her that if you give me what you have, God will ensure that you will never run out until the famine is over. And indeed she did. This widow was sustained because of a word from the Lord and the seed that she sowed into the life of that man of God. And so as you can see, single life, whether it was by death or design, or dismay for that matter, does not block God's ability to help you to thrive and survive in your finances. Do you really believe that God will answer your prayer in terms of money? That God will give you what you need to survive and to even thrive, whether you're single or married? I'd like to know your response to that. I want you to think about that. Maybe jot something down and we'll talk about it in the comments section in just a few moments. Well, let's talk about some eternal principles now to survive and to balance the empty checkbook. Here's teaching point number 1. Focus on God instead of the crisis. Focus on God instead of the crisis. Jesus says to us in the 10th chapter of the Gospel according to Matthew. Look at it with me. It reads like this. In Matthew 10, verse 29 through 31, the New International Version says, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows." The smallest of the bird world, the sparrow, does not go unnoted and unnoticed before the Most High God. If one of them falls to the ground or dies, he is still under the watchful eye and care of the Most High God. I love it. He goes on to say, hey, I know your situation so well that I can tell you exactly how many hairs are on your head. Now, I want you to think about the intricacy of the details in that passage. It should remind us that since he is so focused on us at all times, we should be so focused on him instead of our crisis, that we are intimately aware that he knows where we are, he knows what we need, and he wants to give us our heart's desire. And there are over 35 species of sparrows. Jesus says, I know every species, I know every bird, I know every situation. And this is a powerful principle right here. God is wise and knows every detail of our lives. If he can count the hairs on our head, he can also provide the finances we need every month. Do you believe that? I do. Focus on God and not on your crisis. And one of the fundamental things that I see that is so common among people is that there is an actual lack of belief that God cares about them. So let me ask you, so what makes you think that God does not care about you? Do you actually think it's possible that God knows the amount of hairs on your head and that God is actually that aware of every detail of your life? I want to talk about that in just a few minutes in the comment section. Here's teaching point number 2. We can pray and trust God, but we should also be proactive in seeking help. We can pray and trust God, but we should also be proactive in seeking help. But God actually uses people to help us. And this is not always borrowing money from someone. Sometimes it's an idea for how you can make additional money, for how you can save additional money, for how you can manage your money even better. Sometimes it's an idea, it's a thought, it's a business idea, something that you can do from home to make extra money, and then take that money and either pay down bills or save it up to do the things that you need to do. The Bible talks about a widow who lived in a place called Zarephath. That God had sent the prophet there to her for him to be taken care of and ministered to by her. And she fixed him her last piece of bread. Yet the prophet said, if you honor me, God will ensure that you will not run out. So in that case, there were two single people in a financial crisis. The prophet didn't have any money. The widow even addressed him and said, I don't have any bread to give you. I'm gathering sticks because I'm going home to prepare my last meal, and then my son and I will die. So we have a single man and we have a widow in the same story and a fatherless child. Yet the end of the story is that not only did the widow and her son eat, the prophet ate, as well as her entire family in the midst of a terrible famine. So God knows how to take care of single parents, single people, and all people. Jesus decided to feed the people. The disciples said, we don't have enough food to feed them. And then one of them found a little boy who was willing to give up his 2-piece snack. He had a little fish lunch of 2 fish and 5 little barley loaves. He gave it to Jesus, gave him everything he had. Jesus multiplied it, blessed it, passed it out, and more than 5,000 people got fed off of a 2-piece fish snack. God will provide, and God will send people into your life to help you. 2 pieces of fish and 5 loaves of bread. Not a whole lot, but that one idea can change your whole financial condition. So let me ask you another question I'd like to talk about in the comments section. What is it that prevents you from asking friends or family for help? Think about that, and let's talk about it in just a few minutes. Here's teaching point number 3. Worry is a choice. Let me say that again for you. Worry is a choice. You see, we can either choose to worry or we can choose to wait. We can choose to worry about everything. That means that we are taking all the matters into our own mind, trying to figure it all out, make sense of life, and trying to work every detail out in our own mind, in our own way, in our own time frame. But when we choose to wait, it means that while we are concerned about what's going on financially, at the same time, we're giving it over to God and asking and allowing Him to work matters out in His own way, in His own time. That means that we're waiting on God to produce the harvest or the results that we really need desperately in our lives. So you have 2 choices. You can either worry or you can wait. Waiting on God is the right choice to make. Now, when we talk about waiting on God, what does that mean? Does that mean that I'm sitting around and I'm just, tapping my fingers on the table, just watching my watch and waiting on something to happen? God, where are you? I don't see you. No. Waiting on God simply means that we are praying, but we're also producing what we can, but we're trusting God to do what we cannot. Waiting on God means while we do what we can, we wait on God to do what we cannot. And so when we trust God like that, it involves prayer. Now, here's a great principle that you should know and understand, and it's this right here. The very best place that you can overcome worry is at the altar. That altar can be at your home, it can be in your car, it could be in your heart. But we overcome worry by prayer and by trusting God in the midst of our financial dilemmas. And I want to leave you with this one thought. God wants to help you. God will help you. Let Him help you. Don't try to do it all on your own. Let God help you through all of your financial dilemmas. And He can help you to balance that empty checkbook. Thanks for watching. Now let's join in the discussion. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification that you'll get new content every time it's loaded. God bless you.